So each one carries the vibrations, their own flavor, depending upon who they are. And how do we change from inside? By our thinking, by our behaving in certain way, by our attitudes, by the goals we carry in our life, values that we cherish. There are beautiful spiritual researches coming up. Now science wants a proof. Earlier, religion wanted a proof from science. Now science wants a proof from spiritual approaches, and nothing wrong with it. Only thing wrong with such an approach, science would like to have repeated experience or the repeated results of the same thing. Right? How can you have repeated results on the same thing? For example, water boils at 100-degree temperature. Right? But when you go to heights, let us say Nainital and some further heights on Everest, for example, try to boil water there. It will boil, but at much lower temperature, because the pressure is much lower there. Generally, water freezes at 0-degree temperature. But if you add salt to it, it will not freeze at 0-degree. It will need much lower temperature to freeze it. That's why in colder countries, when it snows, they throw salt so that it wouldn't freeze at 0-degree. It would still require lower temperature to freeze it. Now, if simple water with two atoms, hydrogen and oxygen, can behave in such a complex way, human system is extremely complex. Moment to moment, even without doing anything, you change. Suppose if I close my eyes and meditate, I have some experience. If I want to reproduce the same experience in you, it's not possible. If I want to reproduce the same experience in myself also, it's not possible. But science wants uniformly everything same way. It's not possible. So we have to know our limits. That human system is quite complex. As we were talking, effect of compassion, being compassionate. You can have elevated happy hormones or elevated joyful hormones in the system. What does this prove? Does it prove anything spiritual out of it? No. Spiritual experience, the word itself, spirit, you cannot prove it. But you can see the lifestyle of such individuals who have experienced this thing.
And how it changes them.
How it changes the atmosphere around them. Correct. How the people who are affected in their presence. For example, if you are seated by the dog which is always angry, wow, 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 all the time, how do you
get
feel?
Irritated. Yeah.
While there are dogs which are so loving, and then, sorry to give such example about, compare them saints and dogs and things, but there are human beings, you are, suppose you seated in a flight and some weird fellow sits beside you and he behaves in certain way. How do you feel at that time?
To slap his face.
Go ahead. So each one carries the vibrations, their own flavor, depending upon who they are. And how do we change from inside? By our thinking, by our behaving in certain way, by our attitudes, by the goals we carry in our life, values that we cherish. All these things creates a field around us. When a person is angry all the time, imagine his inner state. What made him so? Similarly, imagine the amount of efforts a saint must have put to arrive at a state where everybody uniformly can say, oh, I like his company or her company. So it's good, but I don't think there is any gadget which can prove it. It's only your experience.
Okay, so I met the children and I'm very impressed because they could read without seeing. And I was like, what? I can't even like do that with seeing. But so I want to know, how will, let's say, meditation or any of these things. Now, let's say if someone has childhood traumas or childhood wounds that they have to heal, how will that be possible? Or will
It helps. It helps.
Okay.
There is a process, we call it rejuvenation or cleaning. It's getting rid of all baggage that we have. And it takes time to, deeper the wound, longer the time it will take. It depends on you again, see, how ready you are to let go of it. Often people don't know how to use the method. Suppose even if I give you a method and say, okay, let's get rid of this wound, or let's get rid of this pattern. Now often some boys comes to us and say, oh, I'm so obsessed with thinking of this girl again and again. She has ditched me, and yet I keep thinking of her. And so they look for, how to get rid of it. So I give them the method, right? But they reinforce the same thing, because each time they sit with the purpose, I want to get rid of her, I want to get rid of her, I want to get rid of her. And they reinforce more and more and more the same memory. Idea is to let go of things.